Welcome to the Balanced Hustle podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay Sherman, fitness coach for burnt out perfectionist. If you're ready to break free from overwhelm, simplify your nutrition, and make fitness finally work for you instead of against you, you're in the right place. Each week, we'll dive into easy strategies to balance your health with your busy life. Let's hustle for balance, not burnout. Grab a seat and let's dive in. Well, hello and welcome back to the podcast. Welcome to 2025 because this is the first podcast episode I am recording in the new year and it is February 11th. So that might tell you a little something about how January went. But we are back. We are recording. I'm excited to be back, excited to be talking with you and just get back into the normal swing of things after the new year. But I am doing a few different things this year that I'm really excited about. So I am actually recording myself talking right now with video so that you will also get to see pieces of me if it goes well on my Instagram also. So if you follow me over there and you're obviously a listener of the podcast, you can kind of get some snippets and some sneak peeks on video of kind of what the podcast is about. And I thought that would be a really fun element to add and just, give you guys a little sneak peek of that. So we are recording for Instagram. If it all goes well, I'll have to edit it. Instagram, it's more short form, so break it up really small and get it on there for you guys. I think that's going to be really fun. And I have a thought that I may also start recording video for YouTube of the podcast. But I want you guys to let me know in the comments if you guys watch podcast on YouTube. I know I have a couple people that they post their podcast on YouTube and Spotify, and just depending what platform I'm on, I'll watch it on either or I'll at least listen to it. But let me know if video is something that you guys care about with podcast, because I'm, sometimes I like to listen, sometimes I like to watch and kind of like do something just like on the couch, like chill, like coloring or something and watch. But it is a little bit of a process because YouTube, I'll go into some of the details. I don't want to bore you with the details. But anyway, YouTube is more of a horizontal filming format, like a landscape filming format. I'm just thought of like hamburger style. Like when we were in school, did you guys have hamburger style and hot dog style? Anyway, it's more of a horizontal filming format. And then Instagram is obviously more a vertical format. So just getting that set up so that I can have some shorts for Instagram and then also some recordings for YouTube if you guys would like to see video of the podcast, so it feels like we're hanging out more in more of kind of a personal girl chat, sleepover type of way. So let me know in the comments if you would like to see that. I'm working on getting that set up. And then I'm also getting a new microphone in the mail. This podcast mic is good, so we're keeping the podcast mic, but I'm getting a microphone that clips on, like it clips onto your shirt. And I'm going to start doing some mic'd up workouts, some mic'd up coaching so that you guys can get more coaching from me as I would coach you if you were actually an in-person client of mine. As you guys know, if you've been listening, I've switched completely to online coaching, and my clients get that version of me. When they ask questions, when they ask form questions, I love sending the videos over, explaining things through video. It's so much easier than typing it out. And I just love to give everybody a bit more of that on Instagram and YouTube as well. So we're definitely going to be on YouTube this year, whether we do it with the podcast. I'm still working on deciding, thinking about how that would work. But we'll be on there either way with some more workout, exercise, instructional content to kind of just help you guys out as if I was your own trainer in your living room. So I'm excited about that. I may also be doing some more lifestyle type stuff, but we're not going to get ahead of ourselves because I'm somebody who likes to take on a lot of projects at once. And as you know, I am a burnout expert. That is why I'm here talking to you guys about burnout all of the time. So we will take on what we can handle and what we can do well. So that's kind of the update for the new year. I'm still over on Instagram, on Facebook as normal, but that is the update for the new year on some things I'm thinking of adding in. So definitely let me know in the comments what you'd be most looking forward to seeing, and I'd love to hear that feedback. But enough of me rambling. Today, we are talking about a topic that I came up with for this podcast episode because I was trying to think of things that have really held me back in my fitness journey and then that have really, at the same time, propelled me forward once I got out of that rut, changed that mindset, changed that way of thinking. I'm a huge believer that mindset is one of the number one things holding most people back, and it's the hardest thing to kind of dig yourself out of. Of course, there are other things that come into play, right? When it comes to nutrition and fitness and working out and all those things, but it's really hard to get started and to keep going if you don't have the right mindset tools in your toolbox, if that makes sense. So I was trying to think of something that would be really helpful and beneficial to you guys. And what I want to talk about today is the idea that you are developing or trying to develop a forever plan, and that's what's actually holding you back. So let me explain, because I did this for the longest time, and I'm so glad I've finally broken down this barrier, and I want to help you do it today. So the forever plan is the idea that when we are trying to come up with getting, how we're going to get back into fitness, how we are going to conquer nutrition, how we are going to make this stick and work for us for the long haul, we start thinking of our forever plan, especially if you are like a type A perfectionist like me. We like structure, we like lists, we like having a schedule that we follow, and we just, if you're type A, I don't even have to explain it to you, like you know what this is. Like we just like to have things like nailed down, like this is the way, this is the routine, this is the perfect end all be all thing, and that can really hold us back in fitness, in nutrition. And I'm not talking about what I've talked about in the past, which is like this all or nothing mentality. We've talked about that a little bit. We'll talk about it more, but I'm not talking about an all or nothing mentality. I'm not talking about, when you want to be perfect and you want to do everything, 100%, and, you don't give yourself grace in taking breaks. This is a little bit different. This is when you get so stuck trying to think of a plan that is going to last you forever. Because, again, if you're like me, you're a solution finder. You are a problem solver. And when you look at yourself, you start to think, how am I going to solve this solution forever? How am I going to solve it once and for all so that it doesn't come back to bite me again, right? And you tell yourself that it's okay if it takes a little longer to develop the plan, because this time it's going to be the perfect plan. Does that resonate for anybody? Like, I have done this so many times where I'm like, I need a new plan. And this time it's going to be the perfect plan. And not just perfect like I'm going to be at it 100%, that all or nothing mentality. Perfect as in it's going to last me forever. Like, this is who I'm going to be forever. I am going to become a runner. That's going to be my identity forever. I'm going to become a CrossFitter. Just throwing it out there. Like, we're constantly trying to think of this perfect plan that's like, this is it. This is how I finally break the cycle, and this is what I'm going to stick with. And if you are a type B person, this might sound completely crazy to you. This might sound out of this world, but I know if you are like me, you get this. Like, we're just trying to nail down, like, what's the thing? What's the thing that I can commit to and stick with and that I'm never going to question it ever again, right? That's like how our brains work. And it almost sounds crazier when I say it out loud, but I've had this run through my mind so many times. And the idea that you need to switch to in order to get yourself out of this mode, and that's helped me incredibly, is the idea of seasons. So, if we think about our plan, we don't want to think about it as, what am I going to do for years? It could not be forever. It doesn't have to be forever. It could be, some people want to have a plan like for years, right? Like, what am I going to do? I am finally going to become a morning person. I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. That is going to be my identity for years. Like, we're trying to find that thing, right? But what we need to do is look at it in seasons. And I'm not talking about seasons specifically as like winter, spring, summer, fall, although it could be. But what we want to do is think about our life and our fitness journey in seasons. So you could also look at it as cycles, as phases, whatever word you want to call it. But when we go to start our new fitness plan, routine, journey, whatever it is, we want to look at it for a short period of time. Of course, we can have long-term goals, but I'm talking like we're looking at the next like 6 to 8 weeks. Who are you going to embody? What is your what's the word that I'm looking for? Your identity going to be for the next 6 to 8 weeks in this season of life. So, for example, I talked about this on my story yesterday, and I talked about this idea that I switch back and forth between AM and PM workouts all throughout the year. So initially, like before I got into this new mindset shift, I was always telling myself, like, am I an AM or a PM workout person? Like, I need to become one of these people and embody this forever. And that's how I'm going to like finally reach like my ultimate self, you know, like, and I couldn't give myself that permission to have some of that flexibility and switch back and forth between AM and PM. It felt like a failure every time I switched, like I was starting over. But what I was really doing was adapting to the seasons of my life. So during this current season, and you know, coincidentally, it just happens to be winter as well, I am not an AM workout person. Now, like a few months ago, that was my jam, you know, like I was like, this is the way to go. This is the best thing ever. I am starting my day on such a good note. I couldn't imagine any other way, right? And then it started to get cold. It started to get harder to get up in the morning. And I was like, you know what? I think this season I'm going to be a night workout person, who I've been in the past. And I love so many aspects of that as well. And neither one is right or wrong, but allowing myself that grace to just have a season where something was different, that has been huge. So this idea has really freed me up because it gives you that flexibility to also say, if I hate this season, I can change it. And it's not so much of that mental roadblock of having to kind of convince yourself that you're not failing when you switch things up, it's a different way of looking at things. So instead of, 8 weeks from now saying, oh, I failed, I need to find the new perfect plan, I need to find my new lifetime forever plan, it's saying, I'm changing seasons now and I'm going to do something different on purpose. So it's giving yourself that structure to stick with something. You're not letting yourself off the hook. You're not, just fizzling out. You know what I'm trying to say? You're not failing at your routine. You are intentionally setting yourself up for a season in life and then adjusting to the next season change. It's not I couldn't, I couldn't do AM workouts for, half a year. I failed. I did AM workouts for 6 to 8 weeks. That was a nice season. Now I'm changing my season up. Does that make sense? Does that sound like gibberish? I feel like I am just kind of word vomiting all over the place. But this is what I do with my clients, right? We look at things in 6 to 8 week blocks. And that really helps us not only focus, it helps us focus so much on the here and now, those progress goals, those constant daily habits that help us get to the bigger picture. And it's always fun when we kind of switch up the season. So let me explain this another way. We talked about it with workouts, changing, maybe the time of day you work out, maybe the type of workouts you're doing. Maybe in the summer, you are in your running season, you are running outside, then winter comes and it could feel like, oh, I failed. I can't run outside because I live in a place where it snows. No, you're just in a new season. Maybe you're in your treadmill season. Maybe you're in your indoor biking season. Maybe you're crazy. Maybe you're crazy, and I know a few people like this, so I'm not picking on you, and you are a run outside person and you run outside all year long and that is your season. And I'm talking about people that live in the snow. If you live somewhere where it's warm, obviously that's different. But maybe I have if you're watching this on video, I have a dog behind me now, jumped up on my chair. But, sometimes you just can't remain the same all year long. Does that make sense? So that's kind of how it applies to workouts. If we're talking about nutrition, it's actually much more effective to look at nutrition in seasons anyway. So if you're struggling with nutrition, I think this is going to help you out a ton. So let's talk about if you're trying to lose weight, for example. If you're trying to lose weight, something that's very common is you might be in a calorie deficit, right? And that means you are eating less calories than you are burning, right? Less input, more output, more energy being spent than you are consuming, right? So that is the season that you are in. You're in a weight loss season or a weight loss phase. You, listen to me, repeat after me. I cannot stay in a weight loss season forever. I cannot stay in a weight loss phase forever. If you do this, you will burn yourself out. If you do this, it will not work the way that you want to. So, in order to make your nutrition work for you, you need to be doing this in phases anyway. You cannot stay in a calorie deficit for years and years and years and expect it to go well for you. And I don't mean that in a harsh way. What I'm saying is there must be phases of maintenance, okay? There must be phases where we are not restricting. And I'm not saying all calorie deficits have to be super restricting, but there needs to be that ebb and flow, that kind of give and take to make a sustainable long-term change. So when I talk about nutrition with clients and when I work on nutrition with clients, we cycle through these phases and these seasons of being in maintenance phase, in being in fat loss phase. Maybe we cycle into a muscle building phase. And that makes nutrition, number one, much more fun, much more interesting. We avoid the burnout, and it's much more effective. So the same thing applies to workouts, right? So when we are assessing where we want to start for our first season, we need to look at our current habits, our current stressors, our current priorities. And these things are what really kind of govern your seasons as they change. And they're kind of the framework of your house. So if you were to move into a new house and somebody asked you what you wanted to do with the house. So let's talk about the kitchen. You move into a new house and somebody asked you what your plans are for the kitchen. Now, I'm talking about like a new to you house. Like it's like a house built like 20 years ago. Okay. I'm trying to build this analogy here. So you move into a house, new to you. It's an older house. It already has a kitchen. It has things that you know that you want to change, that need to change, right? And it's easy for you to identify those things because there's already that existing kitchen there. There's already structure. There's already restraints and constrictions there. Now, if you were to build a brand new house and you're standing on, a foundation with nothing on it, and somebody says, what kind of tile do you want in the kitchen? What kind of cabinets and flooring do you want? What color do you want to paint the kitchen? You're like, oh, that's really hard. That's really hard to decide. Like, first of all, I have so many options. Let's pretend you have an unlimited budget. You might have a budget, but like there's no I don't know where I was going with that. What I was trying to say is you don't have there's no restrictions. Maybe if you have a tighter budget, you would have more restrictions. That would be a restriction, right? It's so much harder to build that plan, to build that kitchen, build that house when it's just wide open, right? So it's easier to go into a house, into a kitchen that maybe it's painted orange. I don't know why. Maybe you walk in, the kitchen's painted bright orange. You can immediately say, I need to paint this kitchen white or whatever color suits your fancy. Like, I need to get rid of the orange, right? You know what needs to be done so much easier, and you know it kind of in your gut. It's almost like an instinct, right? And that's the same way it's going to work with your fitness and nutrition journey. When you look at it seasonally, you can look at your current life, you can look at your current parameters, your current restrictions. You can look at it for the next 2 months. So we're in February now. Look at it for, let's pretend we're at the end of February. Let's look at it for March and April. What does this winter season look like until spring? What are my parameters until spring? And what does my routine need to look like to fit into those things? Now, obviously, if you're struggling with more of the details and the specifics, that's where a coach could come in. Small plug for coaching. But if you just, you want to say, I want to become a runner. Let's just put that out. I want to become a runner. Okay, in the next 2 months, do you see yourself running outside? Is it snowing outside your house? Or are you going to maybe invest in a treadmill and run on a treadmill, right? Look at it seasonally. Now, if someone were to ask you, what do you want to do for the rest of the year in your fitness and running routine, or whatever it is you're trying to build? What do you want to do for the rest of the year? You're like, well, in the summer, I could run outside, but then in the winter, I'd have to run inside. So how can I build a plan that's going to last me forever, that's going to help me get to this goal? And maybe I don't become a runner at all. Maybe I don't try it at all. It's getting complicated, right? And again, I'm not saying you can't be a runner year round. I'm just using snow and running and outdoor activities as an example, right? It becomes a lot harder. And honestly, if you're trying to think of that forever plan, we're talking about a year. What if someone says, what kind of fitness routine do you want to have for the rest of your life? Well, that's nearly impossible. You don't know what, you don't know what you're going to be doing, maybe a year from now or 2 years from now. If you think about it in a way of thinking of you being a teenager to you becoming an adult, think about you in high school. That season is so different from you now, as an adult. And think about maybe when you get married, if you aren't married, or have kids, if you don't have kids yet. That season's going to look a lot different for you too. So I always found myself trying to get so focused on what can I be forever? Can I become a CrossFitter or a runner? And you can do those things your whole life, but breaking it up into seasons just made so much more sense for me. And again, gave me the freedom to say, if I don't like this season, if this season doesn't work for me, I can adjust and I can change. And you can also cycle back. So maybe you're in your winter Pilates yoga girl season right now, and you're keeping movement in that way. And then when spring comes, you're going to get into your jump roping outside season. I just threw that in because I really want to learn the cool jump rope tricks that all the girls on Instagram are doing. But that's just an example. So I hope that makes sense, and that you can kind of see how focusing on less at the start, focusing on giving yourself some more parameters at the start, again, makes it more fun, makes it more interesting, puts less pressure on yourself, and avoids all of the overwhelm, right? So that is my spiel for today. So look at your current parameters, look at your goals, set yourself some process goals, some short-term, what are you going to do for the next 6 to 8 weeks? Look at your long-term goal. How does this contribute to your long-term goal in this season? We don't need to even think about the next season yet, right? And that's going to help you get rid of some of that perfectionism, get rid of that overwhelm, that burnout, and just help you just jump right into things now and not spend weeks and months trying to develop that perfect plan, right? Another example that I like to think about when it comes to the perfect plan is I talked about working out in the morning versus the night. Another thing that I always used to struggle with too was just my morning routine in general. So what time am I going to wake up every single day? What am I going to do in the morning? Am I going to journal? Or some people really recommend stepping outside in the morning. And I don't know about you, but I'm not doing that in the winter. I know some people do. I know some people are out doing ice baths in the winter, but it's my morning routine doesn't have to be the routine I stick with year round for the whole year. I can have a morning routine that fits me and that suits me during this cold winter season, and I can change that when the weather starts warming up, right? And again, this doesn't have to correlate with winter, spring, summer, fall. That is a big factor for me personally. I find that my moods, my motivation, all of those things are a lot different depending on the season, but it doesn't have to correlate specifically to that. You could look at it in terms of when you were in high school and you maybe played multiple sports, or maybe you just played one sport, and you have like a basketball season and a soccer season, and it's not like you are working on the same skills during basketball season that you are working on for soccer season. Obviously, those are two completely different styles of training, styles of skills, or sets of skills, but the combination of those things over the course of the year contribute to your entire well-being, your entire health, your entire set of skills, if that makes sense. There are things that hypothetically you learned in soccer season that helped you in basketball season, and things you learned in basketball season that contributed to your soccer season. Maybe it was leadership, maybe it was dedication to getting into a routine of showing up for practices and eating right, and doing your homework on time because you had more on your plate. There is so much crossover, and it's the same thing in adult life where you can have different seasons, whether, again, it's workouts or nutrition. You can learn things during a season where you are in a deficit, maybe on a certain diet, that can contribute to you in your maintenance season or in your building season also. And those things just all add up over the long term to get you to your goal. So I hope that made sense. I hope that resonated with you. If you have any questions, if this really helped you out, please leave me a comment. I'm doing an outro, but I just realized I actually recorded a real outro before this episode, so that will play anyway, but a little repetitive for today. But I hope that helps some of you out, helps you get out of your perfectionist mentality. I know I have struggled with it for so long, and I know there's someone out there that needs to hear the same thing. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Balanced Hustle podcast. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Be sure to leave a review or share with someone who needs a little extra balance in their hustle. For more tips, tools, and resources to help you reclaim your energy and build the strong, vibrant life you deserve, follow me on Instagram at LindsaySherman_fitness, and don't forget to subscribe here so you don't miss a single episode. Until next time, remember, progress is always better than perfection. Keep taking those small steps. They'll tell you exactly where you need to go. Talk soon. Okay, cue the outro.